just ruin my sister's career. I dismantled her life, block by block, right in front of the board of directors. For 10 years, I was the quiet shadow behind her success, the loyal sister who cleaned up her messes and took the blame for her failures. But when she crossed the ultimate line and stole the one thing I had left, I stopped protecting her. If you are listening to this, Clara, you brought this on yourself, and everyone is about to find out exactly what you did in that boardroom. For as long as I can remember, my sister Clara was a masterpiece, and I was just the rough draft. Our parents, running their boutique architectural firm, Vance and Associates, always made it clear Clara was the visionary. She had the charisma. She had the it factor. I, Elena, had the spreadsheet brain. I was the one who calculated the load-bearing weights, managed the budgets, and stayed up until 3 a.m. fixing her flawed blueprints so our clients' buildings wouldn't literally collapse. When our father retired, he handed the CEO chair straight to Clara. I was named head of operations, which was just a corporate title for her personal maid. For 5 years, I swallowed my pride. I watched her take credit for my eco-friendly structural designs. She won awards. I got a salary that barely cleared rent. But family is family, right? That's the lie I told myself until Marcus arrived. Marcus was a brilliant junior designer we hired for the Vanguard project, a multi-million-dollar waterfront contract that would secure our firm's future for a decade. He was the first person in that office who actually looked at me, not through me. We worked late nights together. We shared coffee, then dinners, and eventually a quiet, deep relationship. We kept it secret because Clara had a strict policy against office romance, a policy she only enforced when it suited her. One evening, Clara walked into my office without knocking. She saw a pair of Marcus's cufflinks on my desk. She didn't say a word. She just smiled. That was the exact moment the trap was set. 3 weeks before the Vanguard project pitch, Clara called a mandatory company-wide meeting. She stood at the front of the room looking radiant in a designer suit. "Team," she announced, "I am thrilled to reveal the lead architect for the Vanguard project, someone who embodies the future of this company." I smiled, my heart racing. Marcus and I had spent 3 months co-authoring the blueprints. My name was first on the title block. "Please congratulate our new senior vice president and my partner on this project, Marcus." The room erupted in applause. I froze. Marcus wouldn't look at me. His eyes were glued to the floor. Clara walked over, slipped her arm through his, and looked directly at me. It wasn't just a promotion. Over the next week, I found out the truth. Clara hadn't just promoted him, she had systematically targeted him. She offered him a massive signing bonus, a company apartment, and used her status to completely charm him away from me. When I confronted Marcus in the parking garage, he broke down. "Elena, I'm sorry," he whispered. "Your sister told me if I stayed with you, she would blacklist me from every architectural firm on the West Coast. She said you were a liability. I had to choose my career." He didn't just choose his career. He chose her. 2 days later, I saw them leaving a high-end restaurant together, holding hands. Clara didn't just want my work anymore. She wanted my joy. She wanted to prove that anything I loved, she could own. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. When you spend 10 years calculating structural integrity, you learn how to find the exact point where a foundation is weakest. If you hit that point with enough pressure, the entire building comes down. Clara forgot one vital detail. Marcus was a brilliant conceptual designer, but his technical math was sloppy. That's why he needed me. And Clara hadn't looked at a raw data sheet since university. They needed the final structural safety certification signed off by my department to present to the Vanguard Board of Trustees. The board consisted of old money investors who were terrified of lawsuits and structural failures. Marcus sent me his final schematics. They were beautiful, but the weight distribution for the cantilevered glass observation deck was completely unstable. If built according to his drawings, the deck would shear off the building under high winds. I sat at my computer for 12 hours. I had 2 choices. I could fix it, like I always did, and let them become millionaires on my back. Or I could let them submit it. But standard incompetence wasn't enough. I needed it to be undeniable. I opened the master file. I didn't sabotage his files. That would leave a digital fingerprint. Instead, I simply approved his exact original files without fixing his math. Then I created a second hidden document, a comprehensive forensic engineering report detailing exactly why his design was a death trap. I digitally timestamped this report to prove I had generated it 3 days before the presentation. Then I wrote an anonymous tip to the Vanguard Board's independent safety auditor, telling them to request a live stress test simulation during the final pitch. The day of the Vanguard pitch arrived. The boardroom was packed with billionaire investors, city officials, and our entire senior staff. Clara was in her element, wearing a diamond necklace our father had given her for her promotion. Marcus stood beside her, looking nervous but proud. I sat at the very back of the room, wearing a simple black dress. Clara began the presentation. "Our design doesn't just touch the skyline, it redefines safety and luxury," she purred, clicking through the slides. Marcus spoke next, confidently explaining the aesthetics of the glass observation deck. Then the lead investor, an intimidating man named Arthur Pendleton, raised his hand. "Beautiful visuals, Marcus, but our independent auditor received an interesting flag this morning regarding the structural integrity of the cantilevered deck. We want a live digital stress test simulation run on your files, right now." Clara laughed, a sound full of manufactured confidence. "Of course, Arthur. Our operations team, led by my sister Elena, has vetted every decimal point. Elena, please pull up the simulation software." I stood up. I walked calmly to the podium. I didn't look at Clara. I plugged in my secure flash drive. "Certainly, Clara," I said into the microphone. I loaded Marcus's exact submitted file into the city's official stress testing software. I set the wind parameters to 60 miles per hour, a standard coastal storm. I hit enter. The projector screen showed a 3D model of the tower. Within 5 seconds of the simulation running, the glass deck began to flash bright red. Then, with a digital crunch, the entire structure sheared off the side of the building and plummeted to the ground. The boardroom went dead silent. You could hear the hum of the projector. "There must be a glitch in your software, Elena," Clara hissed, her face turning a terrifying shade of pale. "Stop the simulation." "It's not a glitch, Clara," I said, my voice echoing clearly through the room. "This is the exact file Marcus signed off on, and that you authorized this morning without reading." Marcus looked like he was going to vomit. "Elena, you didn't fix the load equations," he stammered, completely exposing himself in front of the clients. "Why would I fix them, Marcus? You're the senior vice president," I replied calmly. "I am just the head of operations. I generated a full structural hazard report 3 days ago, warning you both about this specific error. I sent it to your private portals. You both marked it as reviewed without opening the attachment." I clicked the next slide displaying the digital receipts, the timestamps, and their electronic signatures showing they had ignored a critical safety warning just to rush the project to the board. Arthur Pendleton stood up. He didn't look at Clara or Marcus. He looked at me. "The Vanguard Group does not do business with frauds who risk human lives for a headline. Vance & Associates is disqualified from this bid, and we will be notifying the Architectural Licensing Board." The fallout was absolute. The loss of the Vanguard project leaked to the press. Within 48 hours, 3 other major clients pulled their contracts. The firm's stock plummeted into penny territory. Our father was furious. When he looked into the digital logs and saw that Clara and Marcus had systematically ignored safety protocols while trying to cut my department out of the credit, he stripped Clara of her CEO title. Marcus was fired immediately to save face, his reputation in the city completely ruined. Nobody will hire an architect whose designs fail a basic storm simulation. Clara was demoted to a low-level desk job working under the new permanent CEO of the company, me. Yesterday, Clara walked into my new executive office to drop off a stack of printing. She looked exhausted, her expensive jewelry gone, her confidence completely shattered. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. How could you do this to your own sister? You ruined the family legacy. I didn't look up from my laptop. I just adjusted the blueprint on my desk, the corrected, perfectly stable version of the Vanguard Tower that I am now selling independently to a rival firm under my own name. I didn't ruin the legacy, Clara, I said smoothly. I just let your own design stand on its own 2 feet. It's not my fault it couldn't handle the pressure.